So welcome everybody. My name is Dan Katz. I'm the Director of Education at the Mount Sinai Help Center up here at Mount Sinai Hospital in Manhattan. We're at the epicenter of the COVID outbreak, and what I'm going to show you guys today is some of the things that we are doing outside of clinical care to either prepare doctors, nurses, PAs, and NPs to take care of these patients, as well as protect themselves, as well as some innovative technology and uses that we are implementing to help take care of these patients. So obviously training people to use proper PPE is of the utmost importance, and that's definitely one of the highlights that we are working on. So I'll take you over here to the course that's ongoing, and you can take a look.
And so we can continue to deliver concussions as you're transporting them, and everything travels together.
So outside of education, we are using the technology in our simulation lab to innovate and to test new strategies to either better protect the people on the front lines or to impact patient care. We'll take you through some of those initiatives that we have working on right now. We'll start with our isolation net boxes. We're all concerned about the aerosolization of viral particles, especially during airway manipulation, things like intubation, mask ventilation, etc. And so we have designed and tested some of these plexiglass and plastic boxes that are essentially functioning as hoods that we place over patients who are infected, and it means to isolate ourselves from the spray of aerosolized particles that can happen. And obviously you can see here that we've trialed a couple different shapes and sizes, and we are continuing to hone in and perfect the design before these are actually deployed to the front line. So one of the technologies that we are using in the fight against COVID is 3D printing. So our Sim Center has access to a 3D printer that we are using to manufacture both devices as well as component parts to try to innovate and use technology that was prior used for one indication to be repurposed for something else. So for example, converting a BiPAP machine into a ventilator, or by taking one ventilator and splitting it so that way it can ventilate two patients at the same time. PPE is definitely of a concern for everybody at the front line, including masks and face shields. So this is the 3D printed design that we found online. That is the beginnings of a face shield. So essentially you print out this material and then you hook onto it a disposable plastic face shield. And this is another way that we've been using 3D printing to help battle COVID. So for example, this is a 3D printed one-way valve that we're using for our split ventilator project. We again have been using 3D printing to print some of these components. And here you can see on the printer what it looks like in its actual CAD format. So again, that's one of the ways that we've been utilizing 3D printing to fight COVID. Probably one of the biggest issues that is occurring right now with COVID is the short supply of ventilatory support and ventilators. And so our SimLab has been instrumental in designing both new technology, testing new technology, as well as testing a solution to split ventilators between patients. And we'll show you a little bit about that right now. First, it is my esteemed pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Ronak Shah, who's our simulator fellow, simulationist extraordinaire, educator extraordinaire, and now plumber extraordinaire as well.
So.
A large part of the technology that we've been implementing to solve this problem actually has come from hardware and plumbing stores. You can see there brass valves that we've been testing to split the ventilator. And a large part of this is going to be using that technology in an innovative manner. So, for example, normally when we run our simulations, we have just one patient. Thankfully, at the SimLab, we have two simulator rooms with two simulators, and so we literally just had to drag our second mannequin almost to the point where it's through the door, and now we can actually simulate what it's like to ventilate two patients at the same time. And these are high fidelity simulators, meaning that we get real-time measurements of dynamic lung compliance, resistance, and airway flows. So we really can get a good test to see what it's like to use this type of an apparatus to ventilate more than one patient with the same ventilator. One of the biggest challenges of solving this problem, and why it requires a lot of creative and innovative solutions, is that the lungs in this disease are very, very different from person to person and patient to patient. So it is a lot more complex than simply taking one flow and splitting it into two. If you can imagine, it would be like having to blow up two different kinds of balloons, except one balloon is a small party balloon and the other balloon is a hot air balloon. So how do you take into account ventilating both of those balloons with the same piece of machinery. It's a problem that definitely sounds simple on the outset, but has been quite the tough nut to crack. But I believe that we do have a solution, which is great for patients.
These valves are what's able to allow you to titrate different volumes for each patient, because you can actually close off the valve to deliver a lower tidal volume to one particular patient and adjust their pressures that way as well.
So in layman's terms, this is how you would adjust for the fact that everyone's lungs are different.
Correct, exactly. These patients are very sick, and everyone's sick to a varying degree, so you want to be able to manipulate those variables to each patient separately.
Even though you just saw what was the final product, just so you can take a look and you can see, these are some of the remnants of all the different valves that we tried in this process. Different sizes, different lengths, different types of valves. I never thought that I'd be so acquainted with plumbing equipment in my life, but it's something that we had to adapt to in order to implement our solution. Yeah, so we'll check and see what's going on in the office. You can see that literally working around the clock when we're not taking care of patients or on our days off. Everyone's coming in. It's really all hands on deck. So yeah, let's go. We can check it out real quick. So you can see this is something that is, nonstop. It's something that is all encompassing. And it's been such an experience to be a part of what is likely going to be, a transformation in healthcare. And being a part of that, contributing to that is, part of the reasons why, we went into healthcare in the first place. And the lessons that we've learned, the people that we've met, the relationships that we've, forged during these times, it's something that, I'll take with me forever. It's something that will have a lasting impact. Here we have Dr. Anjan and Ronak Shah. They are mostly stationed on the front lines as well as in the sim lab. And then we have virtually Dr. Matt Levin, who is one of our directors of innovation here in the HELPS lab. And so you can see, even when we're not taking care of patients, even when it's our day off or we're working from home, as it were. And so maybe you guys can talk just a little bit about like what the experience has been like and some of like the things that you've learned real quick.
Sure. I mean, it's been quite the experience so far. As you mentioned, we're essentially working 24/7. If we're not here in the hospital using our equipment in the simulation lab, then we're just kind of at home with Zoom meetings, kind of coming up with new ideas, new innovations, talking to different companies, different manufacturers for things that we're creating. So it's definitely been a whirlwind.
And I've realized that every day is a good day to innovate. You can always be caught off your guard, and the next pandemic can be around the corner. And we've learned a lot about teamwork, communication. We're all in it together, and together we were able to do some really cool stuff in the sim lab.
Yeah, I agree. It's been really great, and one of the things is that it let people in our department who really hadn't been working together that much before suddenly come together, and just the creativity has been amazing.
COVID has been really tough on everybody. It's been tough on us. It's been tough on our families, our colleagues, and the patients. But the really interesting thing is that it's given us an opportunity to be innovative, to work with people in the hospital that we otherwise would have never come into contact with. If you would have told me a few months ago that, I would have been 3D printing PPE, working with, engineers from NASA to test ventilators, or to, work on projects, examining, blood coagulation and hemostasis in a novel virus, I would have told you that there was no way that was going to be happening. And yet, here we are. This is an example of how we can be innovative and how we can work together to accomplish, amazing things. We've accomplished, so much in such a short amount of time, and, nobody can do that alone. It's not something that can be done alone, or it can even be done with a small group of people. It's an entire team working, around the clock, in a variety of different environments. We come here, we take care of patients, and then, either in the downtime or in the instance where we get to go home, the work comes with us, and we think about solutions and how we can optimize things when we're at home. We think about the patients that we've left behind in the hospital, how they're doing, and what it's going to be like to see them, the next day, hopefully on the improving end of the spectrum. And it's just something that never really stops.